Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Culp. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, yeah, I've been pretty deep into this rabbit hole, but I just don't believe these assassins they keep putting in front of us are the actual shooters. I think they convinced the person that they did it, but because there's something called MK Ultra, which sounds fantastical and made up, but it's brainwashing and it's real and it's been used by the government for years. And, you know, people are starting to realize like, the people who used to just take the government's word for everything are dying off every day. And people are starting to wake up and realize like, hey, maybe this is a lie. Because some of it's starting to just be preposterous. They're not even doing a good job covering it up. And, my mom's generation, she grew up during the Depression. It was difficult. People were struggling to make ends meet. White people, too. A lot of people struggled. If you weren't already rich, you might not have had a wealthy childhood. There were days where you ate one meal. My father told all kinds of stories, and most of them were food based. You have a growing family and people are hungry and you know he has one story where one of his sisters smuggled some extra food in her underwear and he ate it, which he thought was hilarious, but it's like that's trauma, man. That's real trauma. Like they were that hungry, and it's like this is wild. This is wild. And so they grew up having faith in the government because eventually things turned around and they all grew up and got good paying jobs or went in the military. They could survive and they were very loyal. And I feel like right now, people are just getting frustrated because nothing is making good, solid sense. And I was wrong. Netanyahu was actually born in Israel, but that's not his real name. It's his last name is something else. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it might be something like Miliuski or whatever. Something like that. You can Google this yourself and see, but he was uh, partially raised in the United States, went to MIT, I believe, and there's that loyalty with Israel. You got to return and join the military or something. Anyway, he had to go back and somehow rose to the ranks to become the prime minister, but also there's another one that I can't think of his name, but he was the one I was thinking of that wasn't his name, and he wasn't. They often change their names. I noticed that prime ministers of once they become the prime minister of Israel, at some point they change their name, and I don't understand that state at all. Is it? There's something going on, and then they're all friends with the billionaires, Jewish billionaires in America, and they get funded by them, and they set up these elaborate whatever these systems, and that is a big part of why the president and all of Congress and all, they're all tied into these billionaires, many of whom support Israel. Now, there needs to be a distinction. There are plenty of Jewish people who don't think what's going on in Gaza is right. But then there are the people who are Jewish and pro-Israel. Those are different factions. We have to make a distinction. I think there are enough people who are humane to be concerned and upset about what's going on. And despite Israel's best efforts, a lot of video, a lot of stories are coming out of Palestine, and people can see for themselves, you know, little kids getting blown up, people starving, children starving, and to call yourself a humanitarian and watch that is challenging. And so this is a sticky issue for Netanyahu and Israel. and people who support Israel financially, um, because it's starting to become difficult. And that's where you see the Charlie Kirk problem. He was funded completely by Jewish billionaires to spread the message on college campuses to be pro Israel and to say something, to always promote the Judeo Christian relationship with Israel. That was what he was paid to do, to the tune of $100 million. And he became a powerful influencer, and he began to have issues, despite what you think about him, despite all the racial stuff. They told him, you can say whatever you want, you can double down on the most hateful stuff ever, but you have to remain pro Israel. And he stopped being pro Israel because of what's going on in Palestine and the Gaza Strip. And you're trying to tell me that this little scattered looking kid that they've arrested had a perfect shot to this man's neck and moved on, and uh, there you go. He's the one. I don't believe in coincidences. And every American, even if you listen, Charlie Kirk, I didn't agree with most of what I heard him say, and I didn't hear very much. I'm not a huge fan. I never even really heard of this kid. But he was very inflammatory, very racially divisive. Put all of that aside, put it completely to the side. He got executed, assassinated in front of his wife, children, and thousands of college age kids. That's just wrong. And when is every American going to stop and be like, why does Israel have so much influence over American politics? These diehard MAGA people are even starting to get mad at Trump because he clearly has no backbone when it comes to Israel. He's tough on everything but that. So all these years, we've been worried about him being in collusion with Russia. Maybe it was always Israel. Maybe it was always these tech billionaires. And then when you hear some of the technology stories, where most of these tech companies who run your favorite social media sites, him, you know, they all started and got their money from government contracts. Elon Musk never cared about the presidency. He made a deal to obviously move information and money from one department to another department. And when it got too sticky for him, he got out. They all, the PayPal mafia, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, they're not even born in America, right? They come from apartheid South Africa. That's terrifying. Reid Hoffman, all these billionaires. So Reid Hoffman funds, I think he started LinkedIn, and he funds Democrats. But it doesn't matter. You have to see that these parties are the same. They serve each other, not us. They don't care about the people. That's why there's nothing in place for all of these 70 million people that are about to be over 65 all at one time. You're trying to tell me there's been no innovation and no technology to help with healthcare because they don't care about your health. See what I did there? Yeah, they don't. Billionaires, if billionaires don't care about it, it's not happening. Bill Gates is up here putting plastic coating on our fruits and vegetables, and I don't even want to consume that. If you see a peel sticker, APEEL, don't eat that. He doesn't know what's going to happen to our bodies over time eating more chemicals. He doesn't even care. It's just whatever he wants to do. And he could have done something innovative in terms of helping families pay for health care. None of these people have gone into the business of how can we make it better for the average person to be able to afford the care for their family members or to help people stop getting sick. There's way too many speeches of Bill Gates talking about a pandemic coming, and oh, there just happened to be this immediate vaccine that turned out to not be a vaccine, that turned out to be actually kind of dangerous. I mean, we're in some giant social experiment, but we have all the power and we just don't realize it. Now they're going after free speech, which is something that Charlie Kirk really believed in, ironically. And it's all tied to Israel and not wanting to support their bad behavior. And the brainwashing is complete, except people are waking up like this wrong is wrong. It can't be right occasionally. You dig? You know, it's like that's not how it goes. And the kid that got lynched in Mississippi, what's that all about? What is going on? And how do you get lynched in the middle of a college campus without anybody seeing anything? You got to understand, my job for 7.5 years was looking at closed circuit TV, surveillance cameras, body cam. There are cameras everywhere. That crime is captured. Now, it's just like these other crimes. Do they release what they know because they're protecting someone? Think about it. They collected all of Puffy's surveillance that he had been recording for decades. People at these freak off parties, all this stuff he's been collecting. And the FBI is sitting on it. And none of it was used in his trial. They just wanted his operation. They wanted to take his blackmail. That's really where he was making his money. I'm allegedly, I mean, that was a big sham of a trial, and he'll get time served. Watch. He's gonna be back out. I think what he got found guilty of doesn't have nearly the time in jail that the other crime did. But I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know. But I feel like he's not going to really be in jail much longer. They got what they wanted from him. They wanted his collection of tapes, same as Jeffrey Epstein, or however they keep it, CDs. I don't know. They have all of Jeffrey Epstein's blackmail operation. That's all they wanted. You know, we live in dark, sinister times. We're in a Tom Clancy novel. We're in, you know, I'm waiting for Jason Bourne to show up. Something is going on, and people are waking up slowly. Uh, these both of these political parties are completely corrupted. Everybody, except for a couple of people, have an APAC representative, which means they get money. And these people have not had enough spine. Right now, I think there's 50 people in Israel, 50 state representatives in Israel right now from every state of the United States. Why? Why? It all has to be about money. Nothing else motivates people like this. Why would you betray your own country's needs? There are people in every one of these people's constituency that need money and need resources and need help. And why would you be in Israel right now? Why is that even a priority? These are interesting times, and they're requiring you to wake up, pay attention. The stuff they're telling you is not even remotely close to being true. I don't know what Kash Patel, he did a lot of talking. He gets the job, and now he looks like kind of like an angry, annoyed weirdo, you know. I mean, he talked a lot of shit about what he was going to do and how he was going to run his FBI. And then they get in these roles and they become completely feckless. And then you're tempted to say, well, he was underqualified. Yeah, maybe he was. Maybe that's why he got the job. They obviously have all seen a ghost. Because Trump was talking shit, Cash Patel was talking shit. They all talk all this shit, and then they get into these roles and they can't do any of the things they thought they could. And they capitulate. And it's time for you to raise your voice and say, hey, this is not what I voted for. And I'm beginning to wonder why we keep voting, because clearly, Missouri has mastered this. You vote for something, it passes, and they don't do it. They find a way to overturn it later. You know, that happens on the county level, it happens at the state level. They just, you vote for shit and they don't do it. What is even the point of that? So you have to start asking yourself some good questions like, who's really in control? We are. We're the people. But they've made us feel like we're not. And I think that's where it gets interesting. Well, it's Friday. We're already almost at the end of September. Things are rolling. They're going fast, but big changes. Think about the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks have been extraordinary in American history, and not in a good way. But people are waking up to the reality of where we actually live. And you can't change things that you won't acknowledge, right? I've been trying to tell people like America's a violent, uh, truly mythological place because people on the ground, the regular people are being told to behave one way, and the other people are doing whatever the fuck they want, the rich people. And they're manipulating us and dividing us. Don't lose the message. Charlie Kirk was not the messenger for us. I get it. He spoke for who he spoke for, not all of us. But he did believe in free speech. Taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air, who I don't find funny. He's not funny to me. But somebody deemed him funny enough to have a TV show. Why isn't that person standing up for his right to be on TV and say what he said? You dig? I mean, this is the beginning of what it looks like when propaganda gets put in place and you're being told what to think. And here's the thing, you're going to say it's Trump. It's not coming from Trump, really. This is all coming from Israel. That's even more shocking. That's my opinion. And I'm not the only one to have it. So get focused and get ready because apparently, we're going to have I think the Civil War has started, but it's a war of philosophies. And a lot of people have been brainwashed into thinking their philosophy is right. But again, politics is just theater. It's kabuki theater. They're just carrying on. That's just a show for us to watch and take sides in and get distracted. The real action is going on all around us, and we're so busy being loyal to our parties, we're missing the point. Forget the political parties. They're all corrupt. They're both corrupted. Most of those people are bought and sold. And the reality is, you need to be loyal to yourself and your family and to humankind. Loyalty to political parties at this point is just, you're not paying attention. Biden was a mess. They're all awful. Let's just be honest. They've all led us down some bad road, and now it's time to turn around and fix this thing ourselves. Have a great weekend. Be safe, be blessed, love the people who love you, and I'll see you. I'll see you next week, or I'll talk at you next week. Take care of yourselves. You are loved.